Confidence levels are rising at West Ham that we're going to secure a deal for Evan Ferguson this January. It's one that's making me quite nervous, also a little bit excited. I've recorded a video which is going to be out tomorrow to discuss this, talking to Tom about it, get his thoughts as well on the matter, because I think it is a deal that West Ham have to be very careful with, very, very careful. We know he's got injury issues throughout his career. He's obviously only been 20. He's already had a cruciate knee injury. He's had a couple of ankle issues. So there is an element of risk here. Well, when I say element, a huge amount of it actually, signing Evan Ferguson. And so there's a part of me that's very excited, a young player who's so highly regarded, and we saw what he did when he first burst on the scene, 18 years old, and 100 million price tag they put on his around his neck when Manchester United came calling. That's the kind of player he is, but the problem is when he's available. That's the problem. So, but as an update, I don't really want to talk about that too much, as I say, that's going to be discussed tomorrow with Tom. So, but before I get into more of the video in terms of an update from EXWHUEmployee, I just want to say, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. It takes 2 seconds to do so. It really does help us grow, and we really do appreciate it. And also hit that like button. We have been hitting over 500 likes now on videos, and I'll tell you what, I can't tell you how happy that does make me and everyone at West Ham. It's just great to see us, growing as a channel. It really does mean a lot. So we really do appreciate it. So thank you, and it's great to see us growing and building our community. Let's talk about X's update, and obviously the first one being on Evan Ferguson. So there is increasing optimism within the club that we can get a deal for Ferguson done, with Potter being the key factor in his decision making. Talks continue, and hope of resolution. However, it's thought that Brighton may wish to sanction the deal after this weekend's Premier League fixtures. Obviously, they want to sort of, I suppose, look at the situation with their injuries after that game, whether they want to hang on to them, which I kind of understand. But basically, that's what they've been doing, haven't they, throughout the transfer window. And then there's a little bit more of an update on it as well. Evan Ferguson remains number one target. All options for the deal have now been discussed, including a permanent transfer. No, definitely not now. A loan with an obligation? No. Loan with option? Yes. Or just a straight loan. Negotiations are continuing, and the situation is complicated because there's a number of clubs also involved. Everton have meant to have made it very clear they're very keen on the player, and also Chelsea have also put forward their interest in Evan Ferguson as well. So it's hotting up, isn't it? The Evan Ferguson talk. It's something that West Ham have been linked with him throughout the whole transfer window, and it appears we are the favourites. I think that having Graham Potter here does make us more likely place for him to move on to if he is to leave Brighton this January, possibly even the summer. So I look, as I say, I want to try and withhold my feelings. I will save it for the video, but yeah, I'm very mixed minds about this one. Really am. It's one of them where I feel like we could be getting a real big bargain here and getting a top draw striker in for the door, or we could be about to take on a bit of a disaster in terms of someone that's going to be injury prone. We've been down this route before, haven't we? Andy Carroll springs to mind straight away. So let's hope that's not the case, but we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what West Ham do. But I'm starting to get the feeling that the deal for Evan Ferguson is going to happen and then very, very soon. It'll be a deadline day deal when we finally get it over the line by the looks of it. But let's wait and see how that pans out. In other news, let's talk about other players. Caelan Casey, West Ham are looking to put him out on loan, which is quite interesting. I was expecting him to be possibly even featuring soon for the first team, but there's clearly a development thing there why West Ham are not feeling he's not quite there yet. I want to get him out on loan and then build him up a little bit further, maybe in the Championship. So West Ham are looking at that, but if that is the case, then West Ham are going to look at bringing in a centre back on loan to accommodate Caelan Casey going out for further development. So Todibo could be back for the Brentford home game. Apparently, Potter said he wants to give him a chance to prove himself as well under him. So that's good news. I like to hear the fact that we are looking at keeping Todibo. I've been impressed with him. I think he's a good player. I feel like he had a torrid time under the previous head coach. They clearly didn't get on very well. We'd heard about fallings out. So hopefully he can kind of reinvent himself at West Ham now, new and come in and freshen up. Much like we've seen Paqueta, Kudus, players that seem to be responding well to Potter. I get the feeling we might be getting that with Todibo. So it'd be great to have him back. So one to keep an eye on is that Caelan Casey loan, because I like Casey. Want to see him do well, and if it's felt that he needs to go on loan, let's hope we can get that sorted out for him. Another bit of interesting news here. We're looking at possibly offloading Andy Irving in this window. Apparently, Blackburn Rovers are showing a firm interest in the player. which is interesting. Also, we're in talks as well to offload Guilherme, as we've talked about previously on the video. West Ham are hoping to recoup what they've paid for him, though. There is interest from Saudi, and we've also had interest from Ukrainian sides as well. So there's a few teams across Europe that are interested as well, but I feel that Saudi's the more likely destination should Guilherme go, which would be really sad, wouldn't it? I mean, God almighty, poor lad, brought him over 18 years old, go across the whole side, the other side of the world, with your family at 18. It's a lot, and for him to be sort of offloaded only after a few months is really sad, and poor from West Ham, really, that we've gone ahead with that transfer. It feels like it's just not worked. And I don't blame him, the player, at all. I think I blame West Ham, and I blame the advice we got to go for him. Really, it seems like a bit of a daft move. A lot of money was spent out there, and it looks like it's just been a total waste of time and money, isn't it? So, for his sake and for the club's sake, it'd be nice if we can get a deal that works for everyone. He can move on and start playing at a club where he can start actually playing some football, and West Ham can draw a line and reinvest that money to players that can come and have an impact straight away. We're not a club that can spend 20-30 million pound on a young player that's going to be for development for the next couple of years. We don't have that luxury. We need players that are going to be ready to hit the ground running, really, especially if they're going to be coming in at a first team sort of level, which they were hoping for with Guilherme. Because let's be honest, there was no plan to put him in the academy, and there was no plan to send him out on loan. So the plan was he was going to come and play first team football. Well, that's just not happening, is it? So also to clarify, Graham Potter's also made it very clear he doesn't want to sign any other players, sign players just for the sake of it. He's been quite strict with that. This is the part that gives me a little bit of optimism, by the way, with Ferguson. The fact that Potter's stressing quite a fair amount that he is not keen on just going out and going, yes, get a striker and he'll do. And I just get him. He doesn't want to do that. He only wants to get the right players into West Ham. So the fact that we're really pushing, and he is really pushing for Evan Ferguson, gives me a little bit of optimism here that, do you know what? I don't think Potter, all I think is Potter wouldn't go ahead with this if he didn't feel it was right for West Ham. He's not going to go, well, I just want Ferguson because I've played with him before. I know he's got a terrible injury record and he's likely to break down again. I don't think he'd take that on, knowing it would take on a big risk. That's what I'm telling myself anyway over it. So, yeah, look, that's where we are. It has been a bit of a frustrating January transfer window, I'm going to be honest. And, it's constant noise, isn't there, about who we're being linked with, and it's going to keep intensifying as well, especially towards the end. But you can see now that West Ham seem quite much set now on getting Evan Ferguson through the door. It feels like that is the deal we want to get concluded. He's the player that we want. So interesting. It's going to be an interesting last couple of days, most definitely. We'll keep you up to date with it. As I say, we've got another video out tomorrow to talk about Evan Ferguson and a bit more detail about the situation we're in terms of dealing with Brighton, but also the player himself. And obviously want to get Tom's take on that. So look, it's going to shape up to be, as usual, a bit of a hectic end, I reckon, to the transfer window. I hope it's just not that hectic. Let's wait and see. Come on, you irons.